I just realised as well that we actually have a whole bunch of unused contract extensions and add positions, so I thought it might be an interesting video to just use those and see how we go about it. So we have 2 positions and the 5 contract extensions. Now, these things are not necessarily distinctly separate entities. They're both highly valuable resources. If we go to manager skills, you can sort of see here, like, where is it? Like learning, this is basically, one of these extra positions you could argue is worth 8,000 manager skill points just for one. And in the case of the contract extension, we got 5, so they were like 4,500 each for those 2 kind of things. So you're kind of arguing like the position is worth something like arguably 8,000 points. Over 8,000 points, extensions are arguably 4,500 points, sort of thing, like the most expensive of them. So they're huge, important things, and you don't really want to be adding positions to a player you're not intending to keep long term. So really, you shouldn't be adding positions to a player that you're not willing to also throw contract extensions at, I would say. So anyway, where are we at? We're at, this guy's contract expires in October, which is the end of next season. I don't think we're that bothered about keeping any of these guys. We're already playing that way. So next season, not sure. I mean, Cabo is okay. Mizarchi, I think, is probably one that we ideally would. Palmar's only a backup. Bevan, we have added positions and stuff too. This Taro Birelli, I'm not that bothered about either. Then these guys are all tied down for 3 seasons more. It's interesting. It's almost like we don't technically sort of need anything, so that makes it a bit interesting. We can go to our stats and our average ratings and maybe try to assess it a bit more. So I'd say Ishikawa, for example, he's more of a player that he could get hit pretty hard with training options. So we don't really want. Ideally, with him, what we'd want to be deciding is, with one of our contract extensions at the end of October, if we want to keep him for one more season. So we really don't want to extend him now. The older players, it's generally better. But basically, that also means we need to bear in mind that next season, one of the contract extensions we potentially do want to use for him. So other players that, we just got to keep that in mind. This guy in particular, he's a weird one because he does score the 8 goals and get the 16 assists, but on the same note, he has a lot of shots to get those goals, but also if he didn't have the speed and whatever, his other attributes get him into the position to have the shots. So I think he's an option to extend. If we were to extend him, I'd say we'd just do it for 1 season, because I don't know if he'd be around long term. I think Catania is a player we're happy to keep long term, but we already knew that before, so we'd already extended him. He's already extended till December anyway. And I think probably Octai is another one, but he's till November, so we could potentially extend him. But the thing is, Catania was definitely just better anyway. This guy, I think we would be happy generally, so we could extend him. He's an option. He's just very useful for our tactic. He can play the more attacking role. It's not ideal because of the low finishing, but he's very good on the up and back role, the up and back wide midfield, plus he can play either flank. So he's very good for that, and it's actually been much easier to find the more attacking wide players than it has been to find one that can attack and defend. So I think he's been very useful for that. I think so. We would definitely, and because he can play both flanks and whatever, he's also a very good backup, even if we get better players in the future. So I think he's a candidate to use one. This guy's an interesting one because we used up all these positions, but then it's like he's hardly playing because he's just not very good at central midfield because of the passing. And then as far as strikers go, he's okay, but he's not great. And then we do have great strikers, and he can't really play DC, so it has all this flexibility, but just doesn't really lead to anything. It's a tough one because we put these, like I'm saying, we put these positions in. He is only 23 still, So we could potentially use a contract extension on him, I guess is what I'm saying, even though he isn't playing much. And Ben Yusuf is an option. And Mizachi is an option. So, but we have 5 contract extensions. So I'd say Ben Yusuf and Cabo is an option as well, because he's done amazingly great off the bench as well, actually. So I'd say Ben Yusuf, Cabo, Mizachi, Bevan. Don't think we're too bothered about Palmai. He's lightning quick, but he can't really pass or tackle, so he doesn't really fit in. He's okay. We're okay to keep him around, but we don't really want to extend his contract. He's just good for squad depth. And Rivera, we're fairly certain we would be keeping around longer term as well. He's pretty special. Even this guy, I don't think he's that special. He can't really tackle. He's just useful. He's just good, but I don't think he's particularly special. And then obviously this guy, he'd be 29. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd want to keep him around, but he may end up getting hit attributes wise. He may end up getting a big bid. Not really sure, because he is 27 and his contract is 3 seasons. So that type of guy, we got a bit of time on in particular. And then Lorena has a longer term contract. These guys are all much longer term. Catania is, it's 4 seasons and he's already 25. So we got 5 contract extensions. Basically, I'm thinking Ben Yusuf, Cabo, Mizrachi. That's 3. Not sure about Bevan, to be honest. We could hold off on that. And then it could be Rivera is 4. Could give 2 to the same player. I just don't know who. Could be Ben Yusuf. And then we've also, let's look at the position ads for a second. So I'd say let's quickly take the youth squad. I'm not sure if there's anything we need to do here. We can sort of add those ones at the beginning of next season anyway, if there is. So inclined to just address it then to some degree. I think we probably will, because I'm kind of inclined, unless there's something obvious. I don't think there is. They're all 21. We got an ML, we got an MR. Maybe a different player ends up with the MR, but yeah, I'm okay up to just leave that one. So with the senior team, I don't think we want to use it. We could make him a striker, but I just don't think we want to use that position. Plus, we've got loads of depth in striker. Cabo's been great. We could add an AMC to somebody. I don't know, honestly, who it would be, though. It could be Lorena. He's around long term, but he doesn't really have the attributes. He can't pass, for example. So we're not really that bothered about him having the AMC role. This guy, again, he can't really pass, so we're not bothered about adding it to him. What we might do is just check the players that are under contract long term and just see on that basis. I don't think there's any other position that he can play. These guys, well, maybe they can play DMC. He could. His passing just isn't good enough for that. His passing isn't good enough for that. This guy could potentially have ML added as well, but I feel like it's flexible enough that he can only play MR. We can generally jig it around and make it work. This is not that useful. This guy, yep, his passing just isn't good enough. This guy, I think is fine as it is. Yeah, so it's interesting, but I don't think it's going to be that helpful. Oh, wait up. He's got 75 tackling, 68 passing, 78 vision, 58. So he could be DMC as well and act as backup cover for DMC in the case of injury. So that's one option. We're not really pulling out too many options here, are we? So that might end up happening. Did we have two? I think we had two. So we could add DMC to this guy, and I'll say that because he can tackle, he can pass, he has the vision and decent control. He actually has pretty... I mean, the positioning is bad, which isn't great, but at all, and you can't really mark. This has some deficiencies, let's be clear about this, and that's why we're a bit reluctant to use it, but, you know, playmaking wise, you know, and the dribbling isn't great either, which for him getting the ball a lot isn't great. Like, it's not great, to be honest, but don't know if there's... We kind of got our team sort of set up where we don't necessarily need anything much. Maybe I should be going to the youth squad, looking at these ceilings. And the thing is, you just don't want him playing anything else either. Sky, just want him playing DMC probably. Doesn't really have the passing. This guy, Teklakia. Okay, so he can't really. He's not great either. Graduating 3 positions. He's going to only play MC. It's pretty interesting to have these positions, and it's like we can't even. We're struggling to do anything with them. It's kind of conceptually interesting. Yeah, so we don't really need anything there either. So it's ended up pretty interesting that we've got... Is it 2? We've got 2 positions and like basically nothing useful to do with them. Right, so one thing, if we're going to extend Mazzarchi, we could just make him an AMC as well. His passing is sort of okay. We're conceptually okay with it. That gives us some flexibility that if the AMC goes down, we can use him. I mean, the thing is, we do have Cabo as well, but I think we also want to try and get Gardella some matches. That'll help us get him some matches if basically Gardella can play up front and Mazzarchi can still play an AMC, so it helps with that. So that's one option. And plus, you know, he's worth a ton of money and it's just high value. This guy's actually worth a lot as well, but yeah, he just... And again, I guess that allows us to play him up front. It takes away Cabo's playing time a lot, though, making these changes. These other guys can play, but they're ultimately just playing instead of him. But whatever, gives us options. So I'm inclined to think, in the absence of anything else too useful that we can do here, that makes sense. And then... don't think it makes sense to give him MC as well, because I just don't think... let's have a look at Ishikawa. Yeah, I just don't think with that low passing it makes sense for him to even be playing MC. Yeah, so unfortunately I think it is potentially him just getting DMC that maybe makes the most sense. I don't like it, to be honest. I don't like it at all, using up such a valuable resource in that kind of way. This guy could be maybe a DMC, but like just not for the deep line playmaker role, but just as a tactical option to play like as a destroyer, maybe. Doesn't feel great either. But maybe. Then maybe this guy could also be... He's got 82 speed, 72 strength, 80 passing, 78 control. Maybe this guy could also have AMC as well. So we tipped a lot of money into him. If we are going to add AMC to him, for him to potentially go forwards, it does make sense to add DMC to somebody else. Thing is, we have a lot of depth up front. We don't really need him to do that. We just need him to play DMC, really. So be more inclined to add AMC to Mazzarchi to open up the options up front. They are both 27 as well. And we are about to extend Mazzarchi's contract. So they'll be the same length. So I feel like AMC to Mazzarchi is one thing that we should do. It's just the other one that's confusing. We got to bear in mind that we'll be buying more players or whatever. And the thing is, like, sometimes at the end of the match you just want to roll the dice as well. He's not particularly strong at goal scoring, but that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. It's hard. What about the R? I don't think our other MCs are particularly good either. There's this guy. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think I'd rather be throwing Noam Foe up front. I mean, that's another option. Should he just be up front or should he be AMC as well? I feel like it's AMC. And the other obvious option is just should Ishikawa be able to be a striker as well, so that when we could change our tactic to just put them both up front, for when the match calls for it. But it's another thing here. So basically just adding AMC to Mazzarchi, adding striker to Ishikawa. Not sure. That's one option. I really feel like the complicated, isn't it? Because I'm not sure, because Ishikawa could just be gone next season. That's the thing. If his speed drops off, I just don't really sure. Passing isn't great. Like I feel like he might be. Even then, he's unlikely to be around the season after next, basically. So I don't really want to be adding position to players just for next season. I think we should get promoted next season anyway. I think it's more about the season after next, which makes it a bit hard to look through things at that lens. But we can try. I think him potentially, he's got decent aerial ability. So I think him being the alright, let's just do this. We're gonna add DMC to him. I think that's fair enough. Gives some extra tactical flexibility. And we're going to add AMC to him because that gives some extra tactical flexibility. So I think this is fine. And then in regards to the contract extensions, after all of this, it's pretty decisive. Clearly now we are just going to extend Mazzarchi's contract. We're going to extend Ben Yusuf's contract. We're going to extend. I don't know him. I think he's just hanging around regardless, so that's fine. And I'm not honestly sure about Cabo because he's okay, but I think I'd rather just hold off on him and decide that next season. Ishikawa, Palmai. I think I'd rather just stack these other contracts. We're fairly certain will be around long term for now. Like I'd rather just give another one to Masachi or to Foe or whatever. Now I think let's just sort by value and look at the ones that have. It's one of these. So these 4 guys, I think I'd rather just decide which of these we want to likely keep longer. Now these are the 2 better ones, but they're 227, and these are the 2 worse ones, but they're both younger. But at this point, I'm fairly certain like these guys will just basically be good enough, especially now that we've added position to this guy. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to add a position unless you're willing to commit contract extensions. We add a position, we give him 2 contract extensions. This guy, we would do the same potentially, but he's already got 4 seasons contract. I think we're just going to go this guy. He's pretty useful. He could even become we even think about adding AMC to him. So I think we'll just extend his contract as well. So got our contract extensions sorted. We got our extra positions sorted. So there you go. All right. Cheers. Thanks for watching.